If you never cry in front of anyone, this is exactly what is really happening to you. Some people do not cry because of natural temperament or simple biology, but if you are one of the millions who actively learn to hide your tears just to survive, you know exactly how heavy the silence feels. You walk around all day holding everything perfectly together. Your body is tight. You wear a polite mask of absolute control. You hide the aching weight in your chest because you have a massive fear of looking fragile to the world. Sometimes you might even feel a secret pride about this. You quietly tell yourself you're stronger than people who easily fall apart. But that pride is just a heavy, exhausting shield. The daily cost of this invisible performance is complete burnout. You walk through life convinced that if you let your guard down for even a single second, people will turn away. Crying alone is not a badge of honor. It is a brilliant learned protection that turned into a lonely trap. Your brain figured out how to keep you safe in a world that did not know how to handle your vulnerability. Over the next 8 points, we are going to count down from the subtle physical habits you do not even notice, to the life-changing truth behind your silent tears. By the end, you will easily spot the exact pattern running your life and know exactly what to do next to safely break free. Have you ever noticed how your throat completely tightens and your jaw locks the exact second you feel a sudden wave of sadness hit you in a crowded room? Number 8, the physical lockdown. If I let my face relax for even a single second, the tears are going to fall and everyone will stare at me. Long before a feeling turns into a physical tear, it starts as a raw sensation in your body. Because you are terrified of looking weak, your nervous system redirects all its energy into rigid physical containment. You actively swallow the heavy lump forming in your throat. You lock your breathing into shallow, quiet patterns so your chest does not heave. Think about sitting in a busy office meeting when a manager gives you deeply unfair, harsh feedback. Your heart starts racing and your eyes begin to sting. But instead of showing any natural human reaction, you turn into a cold stone statue. You nod your head, you force a polite smile, you forcefully shove the overwhelming feeling deep down into your stomach until the meeting finally ends. The hidden cost of this pattern is massive physical exhaustion. You spend so much silent, desperate energy holding this emotional wall up that you feel completely drained by the afternoon, even if you did nothing physically strenuous. In behavioral science, researchers describe this as somatic suppression. It is a coping strategy where your physical body takes the heavy hit for what your mind absolutely refuses to express. But this exhausting physical tension is just the outer layer of a much deeper daily habit you perform for everyone else. Imagine carrying a heavy, overloaded backpack full of sharp rocks, but forcing a bright, cheerful smile so nobody around you ever offers to help carry the weight. Number 7, the caretaker trap. I have to stay perfectly strong right now because everyone else relies on me to keep things from falling apart. You have built your entire identity around being the reliable one in the room. You are the designated fixer. You listen to everyone else complain, but you absolutely never complain about your own life. When you feel the intense urge to cry, your brain instantly shuts it down because shedding a tear simply does not fit the heroic character you play. This is especially true if you grew up in a traditional household where being the strong pillar is the only way to earn love. It also happens when young boys are strictly taught that real men do not cry, or when queer people learn that showing weakness makes them an easy target. In your family, you are always the one who plans the events and handles the sudden emergencies. When a major crisis hits, everyone else panics. You stay completely calm, make the hard phone calls, and hold everyone together. But weeks later, when the dust settles, you sit alone on your laundry room floor and violently sob over a completely unrelated tiny inconvenience. The devastating cost here is that your own needs disappear entirely. Society actively applauds you for this, calling you the strong pillar of the family, which makes taking off the mask feel completely terrifying. Psychologists refer to this pattern as the over-functioning trauma response. It happens when extreme competence is used as a thick shield against any form of vulnerability. And this fierce need to be the strong one creates a very specific fear about bothering the people you love. On the outside, you act like an endless source of free emotional support. But on the inside, you're completely terrified that your own sadness is just highly annoying. Number 6, the burden complex. My heavy feelings are just a massive inconvenience, and people will eventually leave me if I become too much to handle. You have deeply convinced yourself that your negative emotions are a drain on the people around you. While other people easily ask for help, you view relationships as fragile, conditional exchanges. You think you must constantly provide joy and stability to earn your spot in your friend group. You edit your feelings down to small, manageable pieces. You believe that sharing your deep struggles will make you seem needy, annoying, or broken. You would rather carry the crushing weight entirely by yourself than risk being a nuisance. You might be going through the darkest, most painful month of your entire life. But when your best friend calls you to vent for 2 straight hours about a minor argument with a coworker, you sit there and listen patiently. You validate their feelings. You offer warm advice. And when they finally ask how you're doing, you casually lie. You say you're just a little tired today. You hang up the phone and cry quietly into a pillow. What this steals from you is the experience of authentic human connection. By constantly protecting your friends from your sadness, you are actively preventing anyone from knowing the real, true version of you. Researchers describe this exact behavior as self-silencing. It is a trauma pattern where a person hides their true internal state just to maintain an artificial sense of social harmony. But this intense fear of being an annoying burden does not come from nowhere, because it was heavily taught to you a very long time ago. A young child falls down and scrapes their knee, but instead of getting a warm hug, an adult angrily tells them to stop crying before they get a real reason to cry. Number 5, the childhood echo. I learned a very long time ago that showing my raw pain only makes a bad situation much worse. Your absolute inability to cry in front of people today is a direct, highly conditioned response to your difficult past. When you were young and vulnerable, the adults around you did not know how to handle your intense emotions. Your natural tears were met with heavy sighs, cold indifference, mocking, or sudden anger. You quickly and painfully realized that showing your distress did not bring comfort. It brought immediate rejection or punishment, so your developing brain adapted. You learned to swallow the lump in your throat just to survive your environment. Think back to a time you felt completely heartbroken over a painful mistake you made at school. Instead of getting validation, your caregiver rolled their eyes and told you were being overly dramatic. Now, 20 years later, whenever you struggle with severe anxiety in your own home, that exact same voice plays on a loop in your head. You intuitively shrink yourself down and hide in the bathroom, anticipating the exact same cruel rejection. The tragic cost of living out this old blueprint is a lifetime of chronic emotional self-neglect. You completely stop trusting your own internal compass. You constantly tell your own heart that your pain is not real or valid. In behavioral science, there's a concept called childhood emotional invalidation. When a child's feelings are consistently ignored or punished, they develop intense shame around their natural emotional responses. And when you swallow that shame for decades, it completely changes how you act in romantic relationships. Why does the simple thought of letting your romantic partner see you cry feel exactly like stepping blindly off the edge of a dangerous cliff? Number 4, the intimacy block. If I expose how messy and broken I actually am, my partner will lose all their attraction and respect for me. Crying is the most vulnerable physical state a human being can possibly be in. Your breathing changes, your face turns red, and you cannot hide your lack of control. For you, this level of total exposure in a romantic relationship feels incredibly dangerous. You subconsciously associate romantic vulnerability with immediate abandonment. You genuinely think that if your partner sees the raw, unfiltered, sobbing version of you, they will suddenly realize you are damaged goods. You hide your tears to meticulously control the narrative of who you are. You and your partner are having a deeply emotional disagreement in the kitchen. You can feel the hot tears rushing to your eyes as the argument hits a tender nerve. Instead of staying in the room, letting the tears fall, and showing your partner that you are genuinely hurt, you suddenly turn to ice. You shut down entirely. You walk away, lock yourself in the guest bedroom, and silently stare at the wall. When you finally come out, you act cold and distant. This behavior actively destroys deep romantic intimacy. Your partner feels a thick, invisible concrete wall between the two of you. They sense that you're constantly hiding something, which makes them feel deeply untrusted and pushed away. Psychologists call this avoidant attachment behavior. It is an unconscious, deeply rooted strategy to keep a safe emotional distance from a romantic partner to prevent potential heartbreak or betrayal. This desperate need to look perfectly composed at all times stems directly from how harshly you judge yourself. Think of your mind like a cruel, towering judge sitting in a dark courtroom, handing out maximum sentences every single time you show a tiny ounce of human weakness. Number 3, the shame loop. It is perfectly fine for other people to break down, but I'm supposed to be better and stronger than this. You hold yourself to a brutally punishing set of rules that you would never, ever apply to a friend or a stranger. When someone else cries, you see them as wonderfully human. You see them as completely deserving of love, patience, and warm comfort. But when you feel the exact same urge to cry, you feel a deep, burning sense of ugly disgust. You view your own tears as concrete, undeniable evidence of your total failure as an adult. You have attached your entire worth as a person to your strict ability to stay unbothered. You might be staring at yourself in the bathroom mirror after a massive financial loss or a brutal career setback. The tears finally start falling down your tired face. Instead of letting yourself grieve, you stare at your reflection with genuine hot anger. You wipe your face aggressively. You insult yourself out loud. You tell yourself to pull it together and stop acting like a pathetic loser. You become your own worst, most vicious bully. The hidden cost here is a deeply fractured relationship with your own soul. You can never truly feel at peace because you are constantly policing your own humanity. You live as a harsh dictator inside your own head. In behavioral science, this is known as internalized toxic shame. It is a deeply rooted core belief that your natural human flaws make you inherently unworthy of love and belonging. This relentless internal bullying eventually causes your emotions to bottle up until you fear they will violently overflow. While other people freely let themselves fall apart to find quick, healing relief, you grip the steering wheel of your life tighter and tighter, truly believing that one single tear will cause a total crash. Number 2, the control illusion. If I let the dam break for even 1 second, this dark sadness will completely drown me and I will never recover. You are secretly terrified of the sheer, massive volume of pain you have locked inside your chest over the years. You deeply believe that your suppressed emotions are a dark, bottomless well. You actively refuse to cry in front of people because you genuinely fear that once you start, the dam will finally break and you will literally not be able to stop. You maintain rigid, exhausting control over your facial expressions and your tone of voice at all times. You view crying as a catastrophic loss of control that will leave you totally humiliated. You are secretly dealing with overwhelming life stress, keeping all the crushing worry entirely to yourself. A close friend notices you look totally exhausted and gently asks if you are okay. You instantly feel a suffocating wave of hot panic. You know that if you let one single tear slip, the entire emotional dam will shatter and you will collapse right there on the floor. So you aggressively change the subject. The heavy, hidden cost of demanding this absolute control is deep, exhausting, chronic anxiety. You live your entire life in a constant state of internal tension, constantly terrified that a random trigger will suddenly expose your emotional reality to the rest of the world. Psychologists call this highly rigid pattern experiential avoidance. It is the persistent mental attempt to strictly control your private internal experiences. But ironically, trying to control these natural feelings always leads to much higher levels of psychological distress. This lifelong, exhausting dedication to absolute control eventually leads you straight into the most painful reality of all. You walk through your front door after a long, brutal day, drop your keys heavily on the counter, take a deep breath, and only when you hear the absolute silence of the empty house do you finally let the first tear fall. Number 1, the silent sanctuary. This quiet, entirely empty room is the only place in the whole world where I am truly allowed to exist. Crying alone is no longer just a daily habit. It has become your only true sanctuary. It is the one place where you do not have to perform for anyone, protect anyone, or pretend to be unbreakable. In the absolute quiet of your own deep isolation, you finally get to drop the incredibly heavy armor you wear all day. You hide your tears from the world because your solitude is the only space where you feel genuinely safe from harsh judgment and brutal rejection. It is a very lonely peace, but it is the only peace you actually know. It is the middle of the night. You are sitting on the cold bathroom floor, leaning your tired back against the bathtub. You are crying so hard your chest physically aches, but you are not making a single audible sound. You are literally covering your own mouth with your hands to carefully muffle the heavy sobs. In this desperate moment, you're forced to be your own parent, your own best friend, and your own fierce protector. You are holding yourself together in the dark because you truly believe that no one else ever will. The devastating ultimate cost of this sanctuary is that your deepest pain remains entirely unshared and completely unvalidated. By forcing yourself to be your only source of comfort, you completely deny yourself the incredibly healing experience of being deeply seen and truly loved in your most broken state. In psychological terms, this extreme behavior is known as self-regulated emotional isolation. While it effectively prevents external social rejection in the short term, it deeply reinforces toxic shame and creates a chronic deficit in human connection. Now that you can clearly see this massive, invisible wall you have carefully built around your heart, you have to make a choice about what to do with it. Listen to me very carefully. You are not broken because you only know how to cry alone, but you are not superior to anyone else either. You are just completely exhausted from carrying the weight of the entire world on your own shoulders. You learned to hide your tears because you were unfairly taught that your personal pain was too heavy, too inconvenient, or too dangerous to share with the people around you. Your brain did not create this powerful habit to torture you. Your brain simply learned protection instead of peace. It built a silent, invisible fortress to keep you completely safe from the pain of rejection. Please remember that this video is for educational purposes and is not medical advice. If you are dealing with heavy, overwhelming trauma, reaching out to a mental health professional is always the best step. But if therapy feels like too big of a leap or too expensive right now, you can still start small. Try downloading a private journaling app, look for a safe online support group, or grab a book on vulnerability by an author like Brené Brown. The important thing is just to begin. Tomorrow, I want you to try taking one tiny, brave step out of the dark. When someone who genuinely cares about you asks how you're doing, take a deep breath and say just one honest thing. Say you're really tired today. Let them see just a tiny fraction of the real truth. Let them quietly remind you that you do not have to carry it all by yourself. Which of these 8 points hit you the hardest today? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one. If this video helped you feel a little less crazy and a little less alone, please hit the subscribe button. We have a lot more to talk about.